Hello, my name is John Sayre, Technical Marketing Manager, Civil Infrastructure here at Autodesk. Today I'd like to talk about one of the What's New features in AutoCAD Civil 3D 2018, using feature lines that are relative to a surface. So a little bit of background on this project. We've actually graded this outside feature line to daylight using the grading tools, and we see that we've got about 7 foot of fill on this northwest corner, and the owner has come back and asked if we could actually generate a retaining wall or look at a retaining wall design to see if that might be a better option. So it gives us a great chance to use the feature lines relative to a surface feature here in Civil 3D 2018. So if I take a look at the feature line, what I did was I offset this feature line 2 foot inside just to give us a little bit of an idea of how this retaining wall would look. So there is a finished grade surface here for the parking area. So if I grab that feature line, I right click on it and I go to my elevation editor, you're going to see I now have a relative to surface option here in the upper part of the menu. So I can tell it I want that retaining wall to stick to the top of the finished grade surface. So I'm going to go ahead and tell it I want it to stick to the FG surface. And we have a few other things that we can look at here. So we have the elevation derived from column, and that can actually be set to absolute elevation, or we can set it relative to a surface. So I'm going to just mass select everything here, and I'm going to change this to relative to a surface. All right. So if I look at that on the the point here at the end of the feature line, it's set to an absolute elevation. That's because the end point doesn't touch my finished grade surface, which is fine. So that just shows you that we can actually set at each station along that feature line, we can set either a relative to surface elevation, or we can set an absolute elevation, which is a great feature. All right, once we've got that set relative to surface, as of right now, it would sit right at the elevation of the finished ground surface. We could actually give it, if we wanted to have about a foot of reveal on the retaining wall, we could tell it to actually add that right here. So it's going to look at the relative elevation of that surface and then add a foot to it. So we can see that we've got the actual elevation and that it's sticking up from that finished grade surface. All right, so once that's built, we can actually come back here and create a corridor real quickly. We'll just call this retain. And I will do it from a feature line. All right, so I'm going to select grading, and I'll just pick my retaining wall. All right, I'll select that retaining wall feature line. We will give it a name so that we can keep things straight. All right, we will select our assembly. We have a retaining wall assembly here in the drawing, and we're going to tell it that the target surface we want it to daylight to is EG. That's our existing ground. So it's generated a retaining wall there. So let me do this. Let me turn it on its side here. Actually, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go up here and select my model or my view cube, and I'm going to turn it on its side. And if I take a look, all right, I can turn off my existing ground surface. All right, and I can see my retaining wall. If I look at that retaining wall, I'm going to go ahead and change it to something you can see here that's a little bit better. Let me go to, let's just test out a realistic here. That looks pretty good. All right, so we can see my finished grade, and you can see that the retaining wall is actually sticking up above the finished ground surface. Now, I can look at that again. All right, so if I want to change my design, I can actually grab that retaining wall surface, or actually grab the retaining wall feature line. All right, and I can select that feature line again. And if I go to my elevation editor, let's just make an adjustment here real quick. So instead of being a foot higher, I could change it to 2. And notice that the retaining wall actually updated. All right. Now, nothing happened here to my feature lines on my retaining wall, so I need to make sure that my corridor is set to rebuild automatic. Now when I change my height of my retaining wall, it adjusts the retaining wall and rebuilds the corridor for me. Now another thing that we could do, I mean, this is design, and part of design is adjusting the parking lot grade. So if we were to move this surface up and down, and it never moves by an even foot, but if we were to adjust this surface, all right, this finished grade surface, and act as if it's moving up and down, the retaining wall would actually still be stuck to this surface with that 1 foot of reveal. So if we add, say we raise and lower the surface, and let's not do it at an even foot, let's do it at something that's more than an even foot. So if we say 1.33 feet, it moves that up and the retaining wall adjusted with it. All right, so let me undo that real quick. And I'm going to turn and let you look at the footings here on the retaining wall. So if I raise that surface 1.33 feet, you can see that the footings actually get wider according to the height of the wall. This is just one example of being able to use a feature line relative to a surface. I hope that the information in this video has helped you to understand one of the new features inside of Civil 3D 2018. I want to thank you for watching and have a great day.